Jambo, this is a quick review of things we dealt with yesterday, including the structure of the atom and linking to things like isotopes, electron arrangement. This chart, protons, neutrons, electrons, location, mass, charge, you should have memorized by now. You should understand the atom is insane. It's very, very different from the macroscopic world we live in. It's a submicroscopic world where you have an insanely dense nucleus where all the mass is of the protons and neutrons, but the volume comes from the electrons orbiting high speeds. You should know the definition of atomic number and the definition of atomic mass. You should know definition of isotopes and what that means. You should be able to fill in a chart like this where I could leave some things blank and you would know how to tackle it. You should know the difference between an atom and an ion. An atom will have the same number of protons and electrons, whereas a positive ion will have more protons and electrons, and a negative ion will have more electrons than protons. The reason for that has nothing to do with the protons, it has to do with the electrons. If you're making an ion, you are gaining or losing electrons. You cannot readily gain or lose protons. You also have a summary sheet that looks like this. It had the octet rule, and that's reminding you that elements want to have 8 outer electrons. That is a full outer shell. The exception would be helium, which would have 2 outer electrons. You should know that metals lose electrons to become stable and form positive ions, and nonmetals gain electrons to become stable and form negative ions. A noble gas is already stable and therefore will not form ions readily. You should know what the word isoelectronic means. You should know the difference between a period and a group, and you should know that columns and groups and families are referring to the same thing, whereas rows refer to electron shells. You should know the names of the groups. You should know the properties of metals versus nonmetals and the trends. That's all from yesterday as well. And that's all she wrote. Quick review.